Alright, this article covers general requirements for wiring methods and materials for all wiring installations not over 1000 volts AC, 1500 volts DC, nominal unless modified by other articles in Chapter 3. Not covered. This article does not cover the following: Class 2 circuits, Class 3 circuits, Class 4 circuits, optical fiber systems, communication systems, antenna systems, community antenna systems, network powered broadband communication systems, premises powered broadband communication systems, and power limited fire alarm systems. Conductors that form an integral part of equipment such as motors, controllers, motor control centers, or factory assembly control equipment, or less utilization equipment. Limitations: voltage. Wiring methods specified in Chapter 3 should be used for 1000 volts AC, 1500 volts DC nominal or less. We're not specifically limited elsewhere in Chapter 3. They should be permitted for over 1000 volts AC, 1500 volts DC nominal, where specifically permitted elsewhere in this code. Temperature. Temperature limitation of conductors shall be in accordance with 310.14a.3. Damaged conductors and wiring methods. Conductors and wiring methods that are no longer suitable for use due to damage, such as overheating, fire damage, corrosive influences, or water, shall be replaced. Conductor. Single conductor. Single conductor specified in Table 310.4 should only be permitted where installed as part of a recognized wiring method specified in Chapter 3. Conductors of the same circuit. All conductors of the same circuit, and where used, the grounded conductor and all equipment grounded conductors and bonded conductors should be contained within the same raceway. Conduit body, auxiliary gutter, cable tray, cable bus, assembly trench, cable or cord unless otherwise permitted in accordance with 300.5b1 through 300.5b4. Parallel installations. Conductors shall be permitted to be run in parallel in accordance with 310.10g. The requirements to run all circuit conductors within the same raceway. Auxiliary gutters, cable tray, trench, cable, or cord shall apply separately to each portion of the parallel installation, and the equipment grounding conductors shall comply with 250.122. Connections, taps, or extensions made from parallel conductors shall connect to all conductors of the parallel set, grounded and ungrounded as applicable. Parallel running the cable tray shall comply with 392.20. Grounding and bonding conductors. Equipment grounding and conductors should be permitted to be installed outside raceway or cable assembly in accordance with 250.130c for certain existing installations, or in accordance with 250.134, exception number 2 for DC circuits. Equipment bonding conductors shall be permitted to be installed on the outside of raceways in accordance with 250.102e. Non-ferrous wiring methods. Conductors and wiring methods within non-metallic or other non-magnetic sheath or running different raceways, auxiliary gutters, cable trays, trenches, cables, or cords shall comply with 300.22b. Conductors and single conductor type MI cable the non-magnetic sheath shall comply with 332.31. Conductors of single conductor type MC cable with a non-magnetic sheath shall comply with 330.31, 330.116, 300.22b. Column with panel boards. Where an auxiliary gutter runs between a column with panel board and a pole box, and a pole box includes neutral terminations, the neutral conductors of circuit supplied from the panel board shall be permitted to originate in a pole box. Conductors of different systems: 1000 volts AC, 1500 volts DC, nominal or less. Installation voltage rating. Conductors of AC and DC circuits rated 1000 volts AC, 1500 volts DC, nominal or less shall be permitted to occupy the same equipment wiring, enclosure, cable, or raceway. All conductors shall have an installation rating equal to or at least the maximum circuit voltage applied to any conductor within a closed cable or raceway. Electric discharge lamps. Secondary wiring to electric discharge lamps of 1000 volts AC, 1500 volts DC nominal or less, if insulated for secondary voltage involved, shall be permitted to occupy the same luminaire, sign, or outline lighting enclosure as the printed circuit conductors. Over 1000 volts AC, 1500 volts DC nominal. Conductors and circuits rated over 1000 volts AC, 1500 volts DC should not occupy the same equipment wiring, enclosure, cable, or raceway, or conductors and circuits rated 1000 volts AC, 1500 volts DC nominal or less unless permitted in accordance with 305.13b. Protection against physical damage. Where subject to physical damage, conductors, raceways, and cables should be protected. Board holes. Cables and raceway through wood members. Board holes. In both exposed and concealed locations where the cable or raceway type wiring method is installed through board holes and joists, rafters, or wood members. Holes should be bored so that the edge of the hole is not less than 32 millimeters from the edges of the wood member. Where this distance cannot be maintained, the cable or raceway should be protected from penetration by screws or nails, by steel plates or bushings at least 1.6 millimeters thick and an appropriate length and width installed to cover the area of wiring. Notches in wood. Where there is no objection because of weakening the building structure in both exposed and concealed locations, cables or raceway shall be permitted to be laid in notches in wood studs, joists, rafters, or other wood members. Where the cable or raceway at these points is protected from penetration by nails or screws by a steel plate at least 1.6 millimeters thick and of appropriate length and width installed to cover the area of the wiring. The steel plate should be installed before the building finish is applied. Non-metallic sheet cables and electric non-metallic tubing through metal frame members. Non-metallic sheet cables in both exposed and concealed locations where non-metallic sheet cables pass through either factory or field punch, cut, or drill slots or holes in the metal members. The cable shall be protected by listed bushings or listed grommets covering all metal edges that are securely fastened in the opening prior to the installation of the cable. Non-metallic sheet cable and electrical non-metallic tubing. Where nails or screws are likely to penetrate non-metallic sheath cable, electric cooled non-metallic tubing, a steel sleeve, steel plate, or steel clip not less than 1.6 millimeters in thickness shall be used to protect the cable or tubing. Cables through spaces behind panels designed to allow access. Cables or raceway type wiring methods installed behind panels designed to allow access should be supported according to the applicable articles. Cables and raceway parallel to framing members and furnish strips. In both exposed and concealed locations where a cable or raceway type wiring method is installed parallel to framing members such as joists, rafters, or studs, or is installed parallel to furnish strips, the cable or raceway should be installed and supported so that the nearest outside surface of the cable or raceway is not less than 32 millimeters from the nearest edge of the frame member or furnish strips where nails or screws are likely to penetrate. Where this distance cannot be maintained, the cable or raceway should be protected from penetration by nails or screws by a steel plate, sleeve, or equivalent at least 1.6 millimeters thick. Wiring methods and materials on under roof decking. Wiring methods and materials installed under the roof decking should be installed to maintain not less than 38 millimeter separation from the lowest surface of the roof decking. Wiring methods should not be installed in concealed locations in metal, corrugated sheet decking type roofs. Cables and raceways installed in shallow grooves. Cables and raceways type wiring methods installed in the groove to be covered by wallboard siding, paneling, carpeting, or similar finish should be protected by 1.6 millimeters thick steel plate, sleeve, or equivalent, or by not less than 32 millimeters free space for the full length of the groove in which a cable or raceway is installed. Fittings. Where a raceway contains 4 AWG or larger insulated circuit conductors, and these conductors enter a cabinet, a box, an enclosure, or raceway. The conductor shall be protected in accordance with any of the following: an identified fitting providing a smoothly rounded insulating surface, a listed metal fitting that has smoothly rounded edges, separation from the fitting of raceway using an identified insulating material that is securely fastened in place, threaded hubs or bosses that are an integral part of the cabinet, box, enclosure, or raceway, providing a smoothly rounded or flared entry for conductors. Conduit bushings constructed wholly of insulating material should not be used to secure a fitting or raceway. The insulating fitting or insulated material should have a temperature rating not less than the insulation temperature rating of the insulated conductors of the installed conductors. A listed expansion, deflection, fitting, or other approved means should be used where a raceway crosses a structural joint intended for expansion, contraction, or deflection used in buildings, bridges, parking, garages, or other structures. Underground installations. Minimum cover requirements. Direct buried cable conduit or other raceway should be installed to meet the minimum cover requirements of Table 300.7a. Sort of a big table. What location, the interior or of enclosures or a raceway installed on the ground should be considered to be a wet location. Insulated conductors and cables installed in these enclosures or raceways and underground installations should comply with 310.10c. Underground cables and conductors under buildings. Underground cables and conductors installed under buildings should be in a raceway. Protection from damage. Conductors and cables should be protected from damage in accordance with 300.7d1 to 307d4, emerging from grade. Direct buried conductors and cables emerging from grade and specified in columns 1 and 4 of Table 300.7a should be protected by enclosures of raceways extending from the minimum cover distance below grade required by 300.7a to a point at least 2.5 meters above finished grade. In no case should the protection be required to exceed 450 millimeters below finished grade. Conductors entering buildings. Conductors entering a building shall be protected to the point of entrance. Service conductors and raceways. Directed buried service conductors and raceways containing service conductors that are not encased in concrete and that are buried 450 millimeters or more below grade shall have their location identified by a warning ribbon that is placed in a trench at least 300 millimeters above the underground installation. Enclosure or raceway damage. Where the enclosure or raceway is subject to physical damage, the conductor shall be installed in electrical metallic tubing, rigid metal conduit, intermediate metal conduit, RTRC, XW Schedule 80, PVC conduit or equivalent, splices and tabs. Direct buried conductors or cables shall be permitted to be spliced or tapped without the use of splice boxes. The splices or taps shall be made in accordance with 110.14b. Backfill that contains large rocks, paving materials, cinders, large or sharply angular substances, or corrosive materials should not be placed in an excavation where materials might damage raceways, cables, conductors, or other substructures, or prevent adequate compaction of fields or contribute to corrosion of raceways, cables, or other substructures. Where necessary to prevent physical damage to the raceway cable or conductor, protection shall be provided in the form of granular or selected material, suitable running boards, suitable sleeves, or other approved means.